Hey middle school, it's Miss Maria. I'm super duper excited to be able to work with you guys. Our first project is going to be really fun, and it's going to cover some neat art techniques that I think many of you will be really good at, and some of you get to have extra practice. So it's really going to be a simple yet at the same time challenging project where you're gonna take away a really cool piece at the end. And this is the project that we are going to submit for original works. Those of you who have been with me for a long time know that every year we start off sending in a piece of art to the original works company, and it's basically an art fundraiser. So anything that you buy, there's a small amount of money that will come back to the art program. That's how fundraisers work. And I then will take that money and I will buy watercolors, oil pastels, clay, lots of materials for the art room. So this is that project. And with original works, you remember that you will be able to submit your work and put it on cups or put it on magnets, put it on sketchbooks, and lots of other things. And so that is what we're going to be doing. You're going to need your sketchbook, and you guys have done a really great job fully illustrating your sketchbook, and inside is where we're going to get started practicing some fundamental drawing skills. Here we go. You're going to need a brand new page in your sketchbook. So set it up just like I've done in this video. We're going to look at the difference between shape and form. Shape is a closed line. Basically, it's a flat 2D object, where form is a 3D object that has depth. The only way you get a shape to turn into a form when you're drawing is to add value. You add value by shading. Okay, remember that value is the lightness and darkness of a color. We're using a pencil, so our color is going to be gray. On the bottom here, I'd like you to separate your sections into 4 parts. We're going to practice drawing 3D forms in each box. We're going to draw the cone, the cylinder, the sphere, and we're going to draw the cube. Each one of these boxes is going to be separated into 2 sections, A and B. I'd like you to practice these shapes at least twice. You might need more. Thinking about our cone, it starts off as if you're going to draw a triangle. The big difference here is that on the bottom, you're going to curve that line. What you're doing as you add shadow over on this left side is setting yourself up to have highlight on the right. And if you can remember that one side of your object always is going to need to be darker than the other, or at least remember that you're going to have a light source, and you can't get around making a form without a light source. So here's our Mr. Light Source, and what you're doing is providing an area where your object is getting the most amount of light. This is your highlight. The opposite side of your light source is going to be your shadow. This is going to be the very darkest area of your drawing. I'm going to add a little shadow underneath my cone to make it look like it's actually sitting on a table. Practice again, and if you need, you have plenty of room in your sketchbook where you can add more and more drawings. You don't just have to do 2, and I'm going to move on to the cylinder. A cylinder is going to start off with 2 fairly straight lines, and again, curved bottom. At the top here, I'm doing something really fun. I'm going to add a squashed oval on the top. I am setting up this cylinder to have the darkest side again on the left. You can set it up to go on either side, but just remember your light source. It has to be the lightest space. If you feel like you don't have a way to tell which is the brightest spot, you need to get your eraser involved and put in some highlights. Including the darkest area is going to give your viewer a sense that this is a round object. All I'm doing here is adding in value, creating shadows, and leaving space for my highlights. I'm going to add a little value to the top of my cylinder, and as I move across, I'll leave it a little lighter. Here comes my shadow. Real simple. And I even needed to use my eraser to add in some nice bright highlights. Here comes my second cylinder. We'll go at warp speed here so we can get through this video. The sphere is probably one of my most favorite forms to draw because once you get the sphere correct, you can pretty much master anything. Notice how I didn't try to set out and draw a perfect circle. This is really comforting because it's very difficult to draw a perfect circle. Unless you have a protractor on hand, just go over a general circle shape several times until you get what you like. I'm going to have my shadow on the left. So my very darkest area of my drawing is going to be on the left. You notice how I'm just overlapping to create lighter values, and maybe I need some darker values. Mr. Light Source is coming in, providing me with a reminder that I want to have a bright spot over there on the right. As you put this in, you guys, you can always erase, you can always go back over it. This is just pencil, and this is just a sketchbook. It's totally okay to make mistakes. Once I feel confident that I've got a pretty good sphere, I'm going to drop my shadow in and move on to my next sphere. Last but not least is a cube. Now when you use a cube, you don't have to use a ruler. You can if you'd like to, but there's just a few rules when drawing a cube. Your lines need to be parallel to one another. We'll go over this more at the end of the video. Each one of these planes in space is going to have a different value. So I am deciding now that my front plane is going to have medium value. The top plane of my cube is going to have the darkest value. And I've decided that the light source is directly on the right side. So that means the darkest part of my cube is over there on the left. I'm using my pencil to add in more value as I need, and I'm going to drop a shadow in. In our final project, you won't be dropping shadows into every shape, but I just like to do it because it makes me feel like the shape is sitting on a table. It's not just floating in the air. Last cube, dropping it in, changing the angles, and I'm going to decide that my light source is going to be right in the front. This is going to mean that my darkest areas are going to be towards the back. I'm going to put a little shadow back there and be done. Boom. I want to remind you, when you are setting up a cube, remember that the lines on the top are never going to meet in space. They are parallel. These angles need to be the same. The lines that are going to close the back of the cube, this line, and these two side lines are also parallel to one another. And that's how you set up a perfect cube. Your sketchbook should look something like this. If you need more practice, flip the page, try again, rewatch this video as many times as you need to. Make sure you got yourself a nice pencil and you have a good eraser. Good luck. All right, you guys have a sketchbook page full of awesome forms. You've been practicing your shading and your use of value in order to create these shapes into their form version. And if there's a form that you're struggling with, I want you just to keep practicing it. If you'd like, you can email me and we can kind of work it out. I can give you some pointers, but this is the stuff that you're going to need to get pretty good at in order to go into our final. We hopefully will be starting the final next week. The paper should be arriving very soon, and I'll be sending home all your materials in your Friday folders. I want to see your work. You can always send me a picture of your sketchbook. So be safe, have fun, and keep making art. Bye.